Now, here's Ed Bernstein.
Well, special guest today, Gene Simmons from KISS, bass guitarist and lead singer. And we're here looking at some Gene Simmons artwork at an amazing gallery here at the Plaza Hotel. Now, there's a lot to know about you.
There is.
Acting, TV, movies, you have political views, but art is somewhat surprising. And I don't know why, but I was a little bit surprised that you had the time to be doing this kind of artwork. So when did that passion begin with art?
There was an event called the pandemic. It happened recently, and all of us were trying to hide in caves and other places, and I found myself up in Whistler, and we were quarantined, and I was just going crazy. I can't say bat crazy, but it had a bat at the beginning. And when they let me out of that house, they allowed me to, the government did, because we know some people, to be segregated from the rest of the population. And I could do that as long as there was a big space and I was the only one in there. So what can I do in a big space? And actually, secretly, I've been doodling and playing around with art, oh my God, for half a century. I'm really old. Going back to the days when I used to run around New York, Studio 54 and everything, used to run into Andy Warhol, we used to hang, and I actually was proud to say that he invited me down to watch him work, actually do the paintings with his staff. There were a few people think Andy was by himself doing this stuff. It's not the case. There were always other people involved. Give me a little red, a little this, a little that, and I actually watched how he did this. Now, his were pop imagery, soup cans and Marilyn Monroe and ad infinitum. And some of the ladies I used to go out with wanted their portraits done by Andy. And I would literally call, listen, so-and-so, I don't want to mention their names, too much respect and admiration for that. And that's how they got their images, you know, iconized by Andy. But I actually saw how he did it, and then just sort of hung around like everybody does, go to art shows and watch different people. This gallery in particular really runs the gamut. We're at an amazing in Las Vegas. If you haven't been here, shame on you. You should come here, because it runs the gamut of all sorts of different art points of views. Some Pollock-inspired impressionistic pieces, other pop culture. I mean, there's a bazooka bubblegum piece of art that I think is fantastic. So no matter what your taste is, you'll find it here at An Amazing in Las Vegas.
Yeah. And did you ever purchase any Andy Warhol?
No, but Andy gave me some.
And when you were younger, you were working with creating characters and comic strips,
Comic
right?
books actually changed my life. I wasn't born in America. I know I don't look Swiss. I was actually born in Israel. When I first came to America, I didn't have the speaking skills. So television and the way television broadcasters, newscasters and so on spoke was the sound that I was attracted to, instead of guys on the street. Hey, how you doing? Like, you going to the club tonight? Like, where you going? My brother Bob was going, hey, man. So that didn't sound like the English that was spoken on the better dressed people on television. So I tried to, as they say, ape the language that they spoke, but, you know, dress like the people you want to hang with, hang around with more successful people, and so on. And the art thing came from comic books originally, because I couldn't speak English, and so the visuals actually explained to you, the panel graphics, what the stories were, and I was fascinated. Well, first of all, coming from Israel, we didn't have anybody flying through the air or getting spider webs and all this.
So were you a DC fan or a Marvel fan?
I started off with DC, but once Marvel came into my life, it single-handedly changed my life, because all of the Marvel characters had problems, just like me. They were all outsiders, and like anything I do, it's deep. So I found out that Stan Lee was Stanley Lieber, and his brother was Larry Lieber, and there was Saul Brodsky, and I used to torture his secretary, Flo Steinberg, and on and on. And I'm proud to say, up until about 1989, the largest selling Marvel comic book was the KISS comic book. where we flew up with Stanley up to Buffalo to pour our blood into the red vats, and we were certified by the Guinness Book of Records and so on. So 1,000,000 years from now, when we're extinct and aliens finally land on this planet and they pick up a Marvel comic book, especially the Kiss comics, they will be able to extract Kiss blood and reinvent humanity.
DNA, new DNA.
DNA. Of course, some of the human beings will have long tongues, but...
Was that your idea, to do the blood thing?
No, it just sort of, somebody just said, hey, let's use your blood in the ink. Okay, great idea, let's do it. You got to throw caution to the wind and just do stuff. Right. And later on, you figure out if it's cool or not.
So when did you transition from comics to other types of artwork?
I don't think the idea of transitioning means you leave something behind. Mm-hmm. It's all a part of your life, you know? They're all pieces of the puzzle, comic books, impressionistic art like Pollock, pop art like Andy Warhol. It's all pieces of the same thing. Look, I like ice cream cones, and I like steak, and I like cheesecake and filet mignon and stuff like that. One doesn't negate the other. And the stuff you liked as a kid, you still like. And that's the thing that makes something rich. Mm-hmm. One-sided, very narrow perspectives are boring people.
Gene, how would you describe some of these pieces?
A classic.
I mean, is there...
No, I'm serious. He's kidding around. I'm serious. So I want to talk a little bit about the process.
Right.
Because I didn't know what I was doing. And there are different layers of, so when you see, oh yeah, that's a purple background, it's actually not. There are about 4 different paint coats on there because I was exploring. I was sort of finding out how the thing works. And so if you look at the side of the canvases, you'll see the residue of the, especially behind you, you'll see the residue of the paints and some of the other colors that I was playing with. So some of these are impressionistic, I'll grant you, and I was interested in textures, and some have a semi-realistic pop art thing, like a pair of lips and eyes. What else do you need?
Yeah, I mean...
Ladies. And then the rest is sort of this hurricane. When a woman walks into the room and we go, that's what happens. And I was interested actually in Pollock in the sense that he was more a modern impressionist instead of the original impressionists who were dealt with color and, you know, I loved Cézanne and Van Gogh, which is how you pronounce his name, not Van Gogh. So a lot of these guys really had an individual vision and didn't really care what was popular at the time. And I'm sort of like that. I was in the middle of the pandemic. I didn't know what I was doing, and I just did it because it was, gee, I've always loved this thing. Let me see what I can do. And actually, I'm semi-proud. I do have a big ego. I am delusional, but it's pretty damn good if you ask me. So I don't like perfect art. I don't like perfect food. Food to me tastes better left over. When you heat it back up, it's just tastier.
How about perfect music?
I don't think there is such a thing. Anybody who understands music will tell you that when you tune a piano, it has to be a little bit out of tune in order for it to sound good. Perfectly tuned something sounds a little awkward. So here, if you get real close, you'll see there are different, not just layers of color, but also levels. And this is actually a material that's closer to stucco, you know, that stuff that they stuck on buildings with. So I didn't know anything about painting or what you're supposed to do. I just liked that there were different levels of it, and then I put gold paint on top of that. And you can, it's sort of like a Rorschach test. What do you see?
I see...
An exploding sun or...
Yeah, an explosion, maybe...
sold.
The beginning of the universe type of thing.
I'll take it.
Yeah. What is the title of that piece?
I'm sorry?
The name of the piece.
Fred.
Fred?
I haven't named it.
You haven't named it?
No, I haven't done this before.
Oh, okay.
But if the highest compliment you could pay me is, I like that, I like this, and they don't look like they were done by the same guy. Because if I look at Warhol, who's classic, or you know, almost anybody who's classic and iconic, there is a immediate look. You can say, oh, that's so-and-so, and you can find Liechtenstein. Oh, yeah, right there. And I like the idea that I can play around with different things. Some of them are semi-realistic, some pop culture, and some are total impressionist vehicles. And I'm learning as I'm going along. So I started doodling a lot during the pandemic. There's a date on there, right? What does it say?
April 17th, 2020.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of the beginning of the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And I've got a full book, hardcover. It says Gene's Doodle Book. Mm-hmm. And every day I'd just be, because what else are you going to do? Watch reruns of I Love Lucy?
Another one of your doodles.
They all have something on the backside. I never thought anybody would care.
Oh, okay. What is the price range of some of this artwork?
Well, I've heard the high-end ones go for $250. Mm-hmm. And we'll see what people like, what they don't like. I never thought about the idea of money for it. I was just doing stuff that I said, gee, let's see what happens. And I was actually quite pleased. So I didn't think of making copies or prints or anything, but I'm sure that stuff will happen. I was just concentrating on, let me see what I can do.
Now, I know that you're busy, about to go on tour.
Yeah.
Again. So,
we have other things. I'm a partner in Alaska Cold Storage, the largest cold storage facility in North America. I'm a partner in Noble AI, artificial intelligence.
Gene, we'd be here all day if we had to identify everything that you're invested in or have done or are doing.
Didn't invest in them, but thank you.
Okay. But is it, I mean, it's what, 4 decades, 5 decades? 5 decades you've been doing this. It's got to be a lot harder to do it today than it was in your 20s.
Well, I will tell you in all honesty, I'm the luckiest guy that ever walked the face of the planet. The fact that you could come into America, first of all, I never even saw a television set when we first came. No, there was nothing. I thought there was literally a guy in a box talking. There was news, like an idiot. I was 8.5 years of age when I came here with my mom. So the idea that it's getting harder, actually it's getting easier. Getting that door open the first time, fame is a strange thing. On a certain level, you can be kind of a big deal in one area, but it'll open the door. At least you'll have access. And then the rest is what you do. Right. Do you have a work ethic? Are you any good in it? And all that stuff. But God forbid if you can't get to that door to knock, and they'll creak open to see. So I'm able to creak the door open, and thank God people give me a shot. Okay, show me what you got. So far, so good.
Why did your mother end up leaving Israel and moving to the United States?
Shamefully, my father left us when I was about 6, but it's not unique. Men have just a horrific record when it comes to families and abandoning their children. It's just, we all have to take a look at that seriously. When it's too much, they just pick up and walk away. I promised myself I would never leave my family, no matter what. And we all have our crosses to bear and all. Nobody's perfect, but you can't abandon family no matter what you do. Your kids depend on you. The mother of your kids depends on you. You got to figure what that thing out. Once this ring, you see the wound on the ring? That ring is too small.
You can't get it off.
No.
You're stuck.
And if I did, she'd kill me. And
And this is coming from a guy who, it took you, 28 years to get married?
29.
29
I was together.
were you engaged that whole time?
No. I've never been engaged. I didn't want to be told what to do or asked, where are you going? My response immediately would be, who wants to know? No, may I be honest? I was the king for forever. Do what I want to do, wake up with women whose names I never bothered to learn, and all the cliche of cliches. Like those two guys over there who are about to get their own reality show. These are bad men.
You identify them right away, right?
I don't like them at all. I know they're bad men.
Those are Durham bros.
And she's stuck by my side. In fact, our good-looking son is in the back over there listening to everything. Hey, he's going to report me to his mom. You know what he said?
What did he say?
So he's back there. He's actually quite tall. Are you going to come into the lens? No. I said, no. And so I was a...
So how did that change? Just
well,
age?
look, I didn't want to turn into my father. I was afraid of marriage. I didn't want it. I didn't want the responsibility because you have to be a grown-up. You have to be mature. And I wasn't. I grew up in a candy store and I never had to be on a diet. You can just eat whatever you want. And grown-ups, not too much carbs, you got to do this, limit your sugars, like grown-up stuff. If you're in a band and you've got a very large tongue, you can do whatever the you want.
And when did the tongue thing begin?
Well, when I was born, the doctor pulled me out by the wrong appendage.
But as a yeah, go ahead.
You got to give it a little pregnant pause.
Okay.
So they go, that's really funny. Welcome to showbiz. Thank you for giving me the clap. It's not the way to say it. That's actually a famous line. There was a band called Crocus, and the poor guy, lead singer, came from, there's an island right off the coast of Africa where Napoleon got stuck. I'll tell it to you in a second. And so he had, a long time ago, so he had an accent, and he was learning it. Hello, everybody, Merry God, and they were clapping. Thank you for the clap. Of course, that's classic. Of course, you know what I mean. Yeah.
You got everybody agreeing with you.
They should. I'm an agreeable kind of guy.
Your guys sold over 100 million albums.
Well, you never do it by yourself. Everything's always a team.
Right. You're
going to be judged by the company you keep, so you always have to be careful who's around you. I only like winners. I like people who are... Forget about this loyalty thing. Mm-hmm. You should deserve loyalty, not this automatic.
Right.
Our former president.
You need to earn it.
Who I knew quite well, actually, socially. This idea of loyalty just outright is nonsense. You should be judged by your character every day. And if you all of a sudden turn into an asshole, they should abandon you. You've got to treat people nicely. You know, our people wrote the best-selling book of all time. It's called the Bible. And for you non-Jews, we wrote your book too, the New Testament. Mm-hmm. And there's some good stuff in there about love thy neighbor as thyself, don't do to others what you wouldn't want to do. Those are good ideas. Forget about the religious part, just the ideas of it, of honor thy father and thy mother. That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Honor, not love. It's very clear. It's honor, not love.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I was a Hasidic student. Mm-hmm. Talmud, Rashi, Gemara, you don't want to know. No. Of course, the rest of the people don't know what they're talking about. But yes, the words were very specific. Love is a different thing than honor. You gave me life. My father, rest his soul, or however people say it, passed away sadly, not in a good way. And I didn't see him in his life, but I supported him, bought him a house, paid his bills, did all that stuff. You give me life, I'm going to make the rest of your life easier. But that doesn't mean I want to have a social relationship.
But that's loyalty as well.
No, well, I would say that he earned it by giving me life. That's a fair trade. That's probably my mother and my father. For that, I'm there. But even if your mother gave you birth, if she's a witch and she tortures you, you don't want to be around her.
Right.
You've got to earn the love. But honor, that's different.
Are you still religious? Or is observant? Let me say observant.
No, not observant.
Okay.
I took theology. I was a theology major, among other things. Mm-hmm. And I told my rabbi, by the way, Christ, I don't want to ruin it for you, but his name was, as recorded by Josephus Flavius, who was the Jewish scribe for the Romans, Rabbi Yesu ben Yosef. That was his given name. Right. You think his last name was Christ, but mom and dad were not Mr. and Mrs. Christ.
Son of Joseph.
Yeah. And he was the son of Jesus, son of Joseph.
Right.
But you don't learn that, because if he's the son of Joseph, how can he be the son of God? So his last name is a problem. What was your question? I love the sound of my own voice. Go ahead.
whether you are still, I asked you about whether you're still religious.
Yeah, here's the problem. Here's the problem with religion. I said to my Rebbe or rabbi, and your guy was a rabbi as well, I want to follow in the footsteps in Hebrew, because I speak Hebrew, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I want to follow in their footsteps. Or in the patois of Christianity, I want to follow in the footsteps of Jesus. I want to be just like Jesus. Well, let's take a look at that. Number one, you'd be a Jew, because all of them, all the apostles, John and Paul and Ringo, of course. See, that was a joke. You see what I did there?
I like it.
All of those Jewish guys were just Jews. Yeah. You were not allowed to preach to the non-Jew. Jews don't have missionaries.
Right.
So they were insular, and it was only Paul, Saul, who went and preached to the non-Jew, and that's how Christianity became missionaries.
Is that Paul's real name? Was Saul?
Shaul,
yeah.
Paul
Okay.
is from Shaul or Saul. Yeah, mm-hmm. Saul is Paul.
Right.
And also rhymes. So at any rate, the idea of, I wanted to get to a poignant point with a stupid silent G in the word poignant. What was your question?
Religious.
Yeah. Religion, I think, is a waste of time. I don't mean God is a waste of time, whether there is or not, but religion. So if I wanted to follow in the footsteps of Jesus, I wouldn't be a Christian. I would be, if I want to be just like him, I'd be a Jew. I'd be specifically an Essene Jew. There would be no nuns, no popes, no church, no New Testament. It had yet to be written. It started to be written, says the Vatican and some of their papers, about 70 years after the birth, death, or resurrection of Yesu ben Yosef. So if you want to be just like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, there's no Passover, there's no kippah, that head covering that Jews wear, or the peyot.
You had sacrifices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did. They used to sacrifice not people, but lambs and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that residency in Las Vegas in the stars for you?
This December 27th and New Year's, and then tranches of dates January and February upcoming, we will be in Las Vegas.
And where will you be performing? Oh, I just sold the tongue.
Oh, I would have stuck my tongue out, but the floor's a little dirty. See what I did there? That was another joke. These.
They're good.
I'm giving you gold.
But stand-up comic, you could add that right to the repertoire.
But I'm sitting down. Yeah. Hey, these are semantics, but I'm not anti-semantic. I'm not sure. I'm performing right now, but I'm not sure we're allowed to divulge because they want to do a big thing.
You've recently moved into Nevada.
Yes.
Las Vegas.
Yes, and in fact, while I'm here, to get back to the art at an amazing art galleries right here in Las Vegas. That's where we are, by the way.
Yes.
Now, you can't see it, but on the other side, there's 100 beautiful chicks all lined up here because it's Las Vegas and it's enemies. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, lots. But we will actually be having a art show, debuting my stuff right here at
when will that be?
Galleries. October 14, 15, 16 of this year.
This year, so.
That's right.
Here at the Palazzo Hotel.
Right here.
October 14th, 15th, and 16th. And Animazing. What a great name, right?
Yeah.
You like the name, Animazing?
I would like it better if I owned it and came up with it, but I didn't.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, you're the master of licensing and copyrights and trademarks, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Has Kiss made more licensing and deals and made more licensing dollars than the Beatles?
Oh yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Well, but they were no slouches. Their music rules the world. But in terms of tchotchkes, I mean, we make Kiss condoms, we make Kiss caskets. We'll get you coming and we'll get you going.
And you probably have.
Wait a minute, that was a really good joke.
Pregnant pause.
This guy's he's pouring cold water. It's like,
well, we have a minute and a half left in the show.
Did you understand that?
I have a whole list of questions here.
But did you understand that?
I did. Coming and going. Nobody's enjoying this more than my wife,
I am enjoying it more than your wife. What's your wife's name?
Claudia.
Yeah, I remember her. Anyway, that's a joke. It's gonna kill me. Did you talk to Gene Simmons? I'm not, I don't know. You know why men die younger than their girlfriends and wives?
Yeah, for sure.
Because they want to.
Yeah, of course.
This cameraman's laughing. It's so true, I'm crying. I'm crying. And we're really having a great time. That's the main thing. You don't know how long you're going to be alive.
Right.
You're lucky if you're going to be alive tomorrow, the next day, next year, 10 years from now. Enjoy it. You know, make somebody happy, be kind to people, work hard every day. If God all of a sudden appeared and says, listen, you got 24 hours to live, it's up to you what you want to do. I'd work hard, I'd find the nearest beautiful girl, you want to live. And if you treat it every day as if it's the only day you'll ever live, you'll be a happy guy. And on my tombstone, I know what it's going to say.
Which is what?
Thank you and good night.
Thank you and good night.
And where's my money, bitch?
Look,
I'm just kidding.
can't say anything more than that. Thank you, Gene Simmons.
It was a pleasure to talk
You
to
can
me.
now add artist to the repertoire.
No.
Words.
I want to be clear before we go.
Yeah.
I don't pretend to be anything. I don't like titles or anything. I'm just doing something I enjoy. If you like it, I hope you take one of these pieces and you enjoy it as well, because that's what it's all about. If you enjoy it, great.
October 14th to 16th here at Animazing in the Plaza.
Be here because I know where you live.